Hi, so I'm revisiting some old photos. These are from my 2008 trip to Italy. This here is obviously the Vatican in Rome. There's me in front of St. Peter's Basilica. And here's the bronze statue of St. Peter and the inside of the dome in St. Peter's Basilica. And here's some statues. Here's Bernini's famous Baldacchino, which sits over the altar, which is directly over the grave of St. Peter beneath the basilica. I'm a big fan of mosaics and found a lot of these Star of David mosaics throughout Rome, which I thought was interesting. In particular, in the Vatican, I think there's some more coming up. But I just love mosaics. It's such beautiful, intricate work. This is an alcove in the Vatican museums, and the next few slides are of other parts of the Vatican Museum. Another piece of flooring with the Star of David depicted. These ancient urns, some Egyptian statues, and Perseus with the head of Medusa, I believe. And then this is in the church of Santa Maria della Vittoria, which has its own Bernini balcony, not nearly as large as St. Peter's, of course. And these are some photos from the Borghese mansion, which is now a museum of sculpture. I took some beautiful photos. I'm going to have to see if I could find my old digital camera save discs and things and thumb drives, because this is not nearly a tenth of what I took. Here's a picture from the rear, which has the old greenhouse and menagerie you could see with this sort of fencing on top. And this is like the main entrance to the Borghese villa. And here is a statue of Lord Byron, who had stayed at the villa at one point. These next pictures are of the Spanish Steps, very famous in Rome. I got there very early in the morning, shortly before I went to the Borghese, and within a short amount of time, there were tourists everywhere. You could see a few in this photo behind me. And on the street, there was a vendor selling roasted chestnuts. And this was in October, so in the fall, perfect time for chestnuts. These next few photos are from the church of San Prassede, which was next to where I stayed in Rome. It's a very hole in the wall ancient church. You had to like kind of go down in between these tiny hole in the wall to get into this church. And this is the grave of San Prassede, who was the son of a Roman senator but converted. And the church just had these gorgeous mosaics everywhere. It just gleamed and glittered from the gold in the tiles. And here's some more sort of Star of David motifs on the floor in that church. And this is the ceiling over the main altar, showing Jesus and the archangels. Just can't even describe how much this glittered. And it was literally a hole in the wall. I think this is Santa Maria della Vittoria. and the main altar of that church. And in that church is the famous Bernini St. Teresa in Ecstasy statue. You had to put money into a little box to get the light above it to go on. So that's where you see that light shining from, and then the light went out, so this picture isn't that great. But just the carvings to make the gown look so fluid is amazing. Um, this next photo is from some of the ancient baths in Rome. And the next few photos are going to be from the National Museum of Rome, which had many statues from antiquity. This one in bronze. And this one I actually think might be from the Vatican Museum and not from the National Museum. I think that got mixed in there. This one's definitely from that National Museum. And this discus thrower was just amazing. Just the muscles and the intricacy of every vein and ligament that you can see. And just the perfect piece of marble, perfect coloring for this work. And I believe this is a bust of Sappho. And this is Julius Caesar. Look how the robes just drip. And this is an ancient sarcophagus. And this, I think, is the goddess Athena in Greek. And here's that first statue in bronze. And they put like marble for the eyes and make very lifelike. And then this is a photo of my tour group. I went on a Rick Steves tour of Venice, Florence, and Rome. So this was our last night, our last meal together. Throughout my trip in Italy, I found these reliefs all over of St. George slaying the dragon. And I think of St. George as the patron saint of England, so to see it all over Italy was interesting to me. And then here are some police officers in Rome. Their uniforms are designed by Giorgio Armani, or they were designed by him. And here I am in the evening in front of the Trevi Fountain. Another view of the Trevi Fountain. And this is a statue by Michelangelo of Moses. It is in the church of San Pietro in Vincoli, or St. Peter in Chains. And the chains of St. Peter are in that church, and I know I have some photos of that somewhere. This is the Fountain of Neptune in the Piazza Navona. And throughout Italy, I found these posters coming up of a musical of St. John Bosco, who's the patron saint of young people, of youth. And I grew up in St. John Bosco Church was my home parish. So I found it kind of amusing that there's a musical about him and it was playing in different parts of Italy, and I kept seeing these posters advertising it. So that was Rome, October 2008.